Isn't it a little weird to say that humans are created in the image of the divine? In what way exactly are we an image? If God is infinite and beyond everything and the creator of us, then how exactly are we similar to the divine? But the mystical teachers of Kabbalah tell us that there is actually a very deep and hidden truth within this statement. One source can be found in the verse Nase Adam b'Talminu kidnusenu, let us make man in our form and image. Or another verse, Mibsari echzelika, from my own flesh I can see godliness. What do these even mean? Well, very simply put, what it means is, before God created us as we know ourselves today, we were first created in a spiritual form. And that spiritual form is one and unified and completely nullified and connected within God's infinity. Now, that can be viewed as the blueprint for our existence here today. But what is that blueprint and spiritual version of us within the divine? Well, actually, Kabbalah does give us the formula and the description of what exactly this would look like. But first, we need to delve into another question which we've sort of touched on a little just before, and that is, how exactly does God come from an infinite and true pure being and create us, which are finite and limited? Well, as we said before, first there was a spiritual version created of us within the infinite. But even within that very spiritual version of us, there is the higher, more connected to the spiritual and the infinite elements of it. And then there are the less spiritual elements of this blueprint, the ones which are closer to us. The infinite is first contracted into a version of something which can then be contracted further and brought down into lower levels. I'm referring to the 10 Sephirot, or as many people would call it, Sefirot. Just as our experience here in this world, we have a soul which gives us spiritual direction, and then we have our brains which can receive and understand within them the direction the soul wants them to take. And then we can bring that even lower into our feelings and connect to it on a personal level, and then we can finally bring it into this world and go and act based off it. In each of these stages, the spirituality and infinity of the soul is diminished more and more. First in our mind, and even more in our feelings, and then finally in our action. This is reflective of how it works in our blueprint and the spiritual version of us up high. The infinite and pure energy is concealed and contracted into smaller and more limited vessels. These enable and transfer the infinite light into something which can become physical and tangible in this world. So in which way are we similar to the divine? Well, just like the divine, in order to get from something infinite and spiritual into something more tangible and physical, there are a sequence of 10 stages and levels, which within each one of them, the infinite light is more diminished and more contracted. So too in our very human experience, we have the spiritual and infinite desire coming from the soul into our limited and tangible minds, and then it's concealed more and contracted into our feelings where we connect it, and finally into action. That if you made it all the way till here, you're probably interested in this content, so I would suggest to subscribe and like this video.